So from the start, we thought it would be a good idea for this community to not have smartphones. But for a long time, we just thought it wasn't something that you could do. Until last year, we just reached a sort of tipping point in terms of how heartfelt our conviction was that this would be a better way to live and learn together. And that if we actually felt that was true, then we had to do it.
The old director here used to talk about the productivity of boredom, that it was really important that we didn't actually have things to do on the weekends, so you actually had to just make it up yourself. And I feel like that was really true.
When I was a student, we would just, okay, we've got an hour. We've got 2 hours. We have 3 hours, 4 hours on the weekend. What are we going to do with our time? Let's make a movie. And I think as students have found technology throughout the years, it's been more like, okay, here I am. Swipe, swipe.
Often students would kind of claim they used it for note-taking. You know, that would be the Trojan horse that would get them just like in the phone instead of paying attention.
Before it was announced to us, there were like rumors going around like, oh, John's gonna ban like cell phones and stuff. But I was like in denial.
When the announcement was made, it felt like a really chaotic moment. There was a lot of upheaval, there was a lot of crying, there was a lot of doom scrolling on their phones. And this wasn't an announcement like we're taking away your phone tomorrow. It's like we're taking away your phone in 7 months.
The language of addiction that the kids showed, like when we rolled it out, where like it was such a like I need my iPhone. It's like a part, like to me that was what was scary. It's like they sounded like drug addicts.
You know, this is a smartphone-free place. And yeah, we have to have that conversation in the admissions process because families need to know. And I can tell you that parents are so on board, usually right away. They're like, this is great, this is a great idea, this is exactly what my child needs. But the students who are making the decisions are like so resistant to it. And that's because I think they can't imagine life without this, because it's all this particular generation has ever known.
And so as we started to go further down this path and think about, all right, well, how do we help people with this transition?
And just coming up with like really creative ideas, like having a record player in the student lounges. And
thought it'd be really special and fun if we could collaborate with a producer of these kinds of phones with equal conviction that this is the right way to stay in touch.
Actually, I heard about light phones like a year before, like it was announced that we were switching to light phones at Buxton, and I really wanted one, and so I was really excited. I know a lot of other people weren't, but I was.
I mean, I think that the light phones, when I first were introduced to them, I was adamantly against.
It was a really, really like hard, difficult transition, and it was like a lot of consensus building to get people to like acceptance and ultimately mostly appreciation of.
I mean, I was relieved because I was just thinking about, I've gone to like summer camp before, and I just feel like it makes everyday life so much nicer. Just lying in bed without your phone is so much better than like lying in bed with a phone.
The way it was described was kind of really valuing students being present and everyone being present here. So I thought it was a cool idea, and even for myself, because I'm also not on my phone as much now because of this policy.
I was really happy to have an excuse to free myself.
One of my main reservations about just like switching to a light phone like on my own was that I felt like I would kind of be like isolating myself when I'm here. If it's like an entire community that's on light phones, it's like a lot easier to make that switch.
You can just mindlessly scroll for hours with social media on your phone, but on a computer it seems, I don't know, so much more contained somehow.
Like, I do like that separation, and I think that has been really good for me.
I feel like I go from like 8 hours of screen time now just to like 2 with my computer and TVs around campus.
I usually go out. I'm not in my room a lot, to be honest, actually, compared to last year and this year. Because I'd always be on my phone in my free time. You know, if I have a free period, I'd just go on my phone, 20 minutes left, I'll just go scroll through TikTok, use that time just to lay down in my bed and go to class the next period. Now I would, I could go play basketball, I could go to the lounge, play a little bit of PlayStation, I could go see if what one of my friends is doing, I could go upstairs. I have so much more options to do without my phone, when I'm in campus.
I really value not having an iPhone just because I feel like I'm going to do more and be a better senior, and also remember my last year of high school in a very different way than I would have had I been on Instagram in my free time, as opposed to like talking to the freshmen about freshmanness or in the dark room. I've been in the dark room so much this year. Oh, way more than last year.
I mean, I felt like you could start observing tangible effects like within 24 hours.
People are more engaged at meals. You know, I don't have to tell people to get off the cell phone in class. It's nice to not see people walking around this beautiful place looking down at a screen. There's not been as much pushback as I expected. I expected there would be a lot more sort of grumbling.
I see a huge change in like anxiety and depression amongst the kids.
Like it's like a more global effect of just like kids seem happier, they seem less stressed out, they're not worried about what's going on at home, because like what's happening here is real, and like that's what we want their primary lives to be. And there's just this element of no FOMO and all these other things, keeping the outside world on the outside and bringing it in intentionally as opposed to it like consistently breaking in has been a really wonderful way to teach.
It's not like before smartphones existed, everyone was happy and no one was stressed and no one was anxious and no one was sad. Like all those things are still there, but you have to sit with that for a minute and think about that and explore that and learn about yourself and learn about what might make that actually better, and not just like put a veneer of distraction over it for a moment.
They're more confident too. I feel like a lot of the times the smartphones really keep them from like seeing themselves as they are.
It's interesting, and it has helped me stay more focused in the classroom and understanding the content better, because I'm not distracted by my phone or thinking about like notifications on my phone.
Like last year, I would be competing with phones, and like I could see it. Like if someone posted something on Instagram, I could see the classroom shift, where kids would like nudge each other and be like, "Check your phone," and like you can entirely lose a class with like you not having any control over it, right?
I think that there are still like attention span things. Like I guess I'm still trying to get kids to do the reading.
They still kind of need to be entertained. Education is not always entertaining, and so I recognize that like that's me, especially teaching math. Math is not always entertaining, and I've had to step it up.
I think the only tricky thing is I find it hard to text. I often have to like communicate with students and text students, but I find that calling them is actually easier, which is kind of nice because you can get right to the point and, you know, get what you need done.
I really do love that we're not always on our phones. I really do like that. It's just the only thing about the light phones that like is a little bit of a problem for me is that like when I'm not at Buxton, so I had to like go out into the real world and like have this doctor's appointment, and I got dropped off the wrong building, and I could not Google what is the right building. So I called my mom frantic, I was like yelling at my light phone like outside of this hospital. Like people were like taking their kids to their doctor's appointments, and she was like, "Honey, this is not Buxton's fault. Like you just need to be a big girl and figure it out." And so I resorted to reading signs, which actually was a great thing and was effective, shockingly. So I think actually not having a phone is forcing me to be an adult, which is a hard pill to swallow, but I'm also like, I think I'm going to be a more competent 18-year-old. I turn 18 in a month, so.
I've definitely learned a lot from this experiment, and there are things like in terms of rollout and other things that I would have done differently, but I think it's like, this feels like the secret sauce of education.
You know, we're stand by this because in mid-October, we're already seeing like really positive effects from not having smartphones on campus.
I feel like it's going to be a draw for a certain type of student, and I think that certain type of student is the type of student that would flourish at Buxton.
It's not even theoretical anymore. We can just like very confidently, practically, and genuinely explain to people that this is a pretty exciting way to live, like as a teenager, as a teacher, just as a member of this community.
Speaking of. Sorry. Hello.